Hello, everyone. Welcome to the GLORIO Chat, the best anime podcast on the internet. I guess I would say we're transitioning between seasons because I know these shows I am still watching from summer season still have an episode left, and I believe new shows will be starting possibly by the time this is airing. This is going out live.
I mean, the whole concept of linear TV is kind of slowly dying. So.
Yeah, I mean, there's still broadly a seasonal concept here, but it's getting... I feel like we used to have nice, neatly divided preview show, then final thoughts, and then first looks.
Get a nice episodes. 1 to 2 weeks in between seasons.
Well, don't worry, because if some of the announcement by Amazon and other streaming services are any indication, it seems like everyone's trying to bring back cable.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure that'll work. But anyway, yeah, this is broadly our fall 2023 preview show. Mm-hmm. Before we get into previewing, let's introduce everybody. I'm Jel, and I'm joined by Iro.
Hey, I'm still here. I'm not dead yet.
Yeah. You know, Iro, I was looking at as I was going through this list. I was real tempted to just cancel this podcast and then you and I do an Iron Chef retrospective.
Oh man, I've been watching so much Iron Chef.
It seems to have been going around recently.
For context,
some channel has been uploading all the episodes.
Yeah, there was a company that bought the rights to the American broadcast of the original series, and they recently, over the past 2 or 3 months, started uploading all of the full episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And
they changed the music though.
Yeah, unfortunately, they had to change the music, which is
so that's the one that basically just has a comedy dub on it. Right?
It's not a comedy dub. Is the thing? It's weirdly straight faced.
It's very serious, but it sounds
other than
it works for the joke, right?
Right. Other than I don't know, a German chef will appear and then he's dubbed with the most comical German accent in the world, right?
Yes,
stuff like that. Which is a hoot.
Yeah, it's very 70s kung fu movie dub, which is great. Unintentionally amusing, but also just the vibes are great. Still the greatest cooking show of all time, in my opinion. Yeah,
great stuff.
Anyway, back to anime. and the rest of our cast today.
Who's more anime than?
Yeah, I mean Iron Chef is very anime, but we won't get into that.
No, I was talking about G.
Okay. Yes. Also very anime, I guess. We're joined by G.
Yes. Now that I am done with Armored Core 6, I am no longer buddy pilled. Instead, my pee organ is now full. It is sloshing full of energy.
Full of ergo.
Yes, full of ergo.
I don't know what that means, but it sounds disgusting.
What the fuck are you guys talking about?
I have been playing the blatant imitator souls like Lies of P.
Is that
APAB?
That mechanics from that game? Yeah. Okay.
Yes. You play as Pinocchio it's Pinocchio Bloodborne basically, and.
I saw it and thought Fortnite Bloodborne, but
wow, that's a little. Honestly, that's a little. I might say that's unfair because here's the thing: the game's actually it's pretty decent. It's Bloodborne at home, but they haven't made one of those in a while. So
yeah,
I might make the argument that regular Bloodborne is already Pinocchio Bloodborne to a certain extent.
So it does scratch an itch, but also you could tell that this game was not made by a studio for whom English is their first language, because your skill tree in Lies of P is called the P organ, and you put points into your P organ to make your P organ stronger. A kindly old man Geppetto is like, my boy.
Yeah. I mean, Pinocchio's whole thing. Yeah, Pinocchio's whole thing is when he lies, his wood gets longer.
All right,
going back to the oldest jokes in history.
Hey, they're setting it up.
Yeah,
we got a lot to talk about. We need to move on. But yes, we are also joined by Zig.
Yes, I have also been playing that most anime of video games, Fallout New Vegas. It's good.
Yeah.
Shocker.
It is a good game.
Yes.
I never actually.
I played all of Armored Core 6 in between podcasts where we talked about it and this podcast where we're done talking about it.
Thus, conveniently not having to talk about it.
Look, buddy, if you want to say something, you can. The floor is yours.
It's good.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we'll try to get this train back on the tracks here. And like I said, it is fall 2023 season time. And God, I feel like every time we have 2 seasons that don't look great in a row for me, I have to struggle with the eternal question of have I finally just gotten too old for anime and am I out of touch or whatever? And I have to remind myself that it was only 4 or 5 months ago that there were good shows that I like airing.
I mean, also the actual key is admitting that you were too old for anime when you were 23, and then just rolling with it. To be honest,
I like there are a lot of shows this season that I'm me 10 to 20 years ago would not have liked them either. But there's so much I don't know. Creative bankruptcy.
Look, how much isekai and or things with S rank in the title have we just culled from the list, right?
I didn't even count this season how many there were, because it was just too many. Last season I tried and it's just it's also, I've dubbed this season extremely cursed for other reasons, so we can I think we'll start there and then we'll get into some of the things that may or may not be interesting for us to watch later. But I'm declaring that this is an extremely cursed season for a number of reasons, which I would start, I guess, with the Fooly Cooly sequels.
Speaking of puppets powered by dark and evil forces,
the first Fooly Cooly series is already airing, Fooly Cooly Grunge, which is universally being seen as just awful.
When even YouTube comments are getting to the point of saying, "Why is this being made? This looks like shit."
I mean, it's also out of the only one that's they tried to go all CG, and it's terrible.
I think in many ways, so we're talking about Fooly Cooly Grunge and Shoegaze, which I cannot believe I'm about to say this out loud, are the 4th and 5th entry in the Fooly Cooly series. I'm gonna shoot myself now. Anyways, I think even the audience, the widespread tepid reaction to this is speaking to I think in many ways we are seeing the very utmost limits of the media hype machine, for better or worse, mostly worse. People, at least a lot of mainstream media outlets, seem to cover progressive and alternative fairly positively, or at least
sure,
we're riding on the hype of, it's Fooly Cooly and it's back, right? And, we all called out the problems with these 2 sequels, all the way back then. But I feel with Grunge and Shoegaze, the rest of media discourse is finally catching up and actually asking why the hell are they making so many sequels to this thing?
I mean, there's also the fact that just for better or worse, those first 2 sequels had the advantage of it's the thing you remember and now it's back, and it's the thing from 18 months to 2 years ago that you remember and now it's back is not quite as compelling a pitch in any way.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to dwell on these too long, but to sum it up, Grunge, which is currently airing, is a CG dumpster fire.
I heard it described as one step above being animated in Miku Miku Dance. Take that for what it was worth.
Yeah, that might be. I don't know if you've seen the most recent versions of Miku Miku Dance. Maybe Miku Miku Dance from 2010. But it's
ouch.
It's bad. And Shoegaze is coming out, I think, starting next week, and
it is 2D animated, unlike
it is trying to emulate the original series to an embarrassing degree.
I believe it's Studio Nut.
Yeah, it's like
hey, you buy.
Yeah, fully a buy.
Yeah, I mean, it like
the problem with progressive and alternative was not how they looked.
Right, quality wise, it seems fine. And I'll admit they play a new Pillow song in the trailer. I'm like, must fight, must fight the pull.
Hey, look, I mean, as I've said, like I don't care about grunge and shoegaze at all unless it facilitates another tour of the Pillows in the United States.
And it hasn't so far, but yeah, they're playing the Pillow song. I'm like, maybe no, but then like if you actually watch the trailer, it's like an embarrassing remix of all the like elements from the original, like just take one part of one character and slap it on a different character type of thing, and it's again creative bankruptcy. Maybe that's my theme for this season.
Go for it.
Go ahead.
Okay, sure. I was going to say the only thing that I've found somewhat like potentially like the kernel of like interestingness to Shoegaze is that my understanding is that it is being positioned as a direct sequel to Alternative, which
I get the mixed up.
The
slightly better one.
Okay. Yeah. So the one about the girls.
Yes. Alternative is the one about the female group of friends, which I thought like again, I don't think Alternative like wrapped up particularly well, but I at least appreciated that like it was like approaching it from the perspective of like female adolescence and like how that changes the tone and feeling of Fooly Cooly, which of course the original is very centered on male adolescence, and that angle kind of gave it like a hook to grab onto. And so, that's not to say Shoegaze is going to like, build on that, but like the fact that it is a follow up to that one.
Yeah. It doesn't look like it looks like the dude's the main character again. And
all right.
Like at one point at the end of the trailer, they're like one of the adults is literally like, "We are going to channel your sexual energy," and it's like no, you don't say it. I mean, that's like, I mean, yes, that's what happens in Fooly Cooly, but like that's the whole point is like, they're showing it, not telling
Fooly
it. But,
Cooly?
Yeah. So again, I just why, and that's probably all we need to say about these. Another thing I don't want to talk about much, but I did find it.
Speaking of popular returning properties,
yeah, I don't want to talk about it as much either. But I just found it funny that both Goblin Slayer and the Rising of the Shield Hero, which are arguably two of the worst isekai, most like egregious ones, are coming back in the same season.
I mean, the distinguishing line I would take is that most isekai is like disgusting and artistically bankrupt, whereas Goblin Slayer at least is also actively harmful and just like moral.
I think I would describe both of those shows as actively harmful. With
there's isekai, and then there's like a morally abhorrent isekai.
Yeah, yeah. These are ones that I can't just hand wave. But whatever. If you're enjoying it, I don't care. But these are actually.
You're probably a bad person.
Yeah. I don't.
I wouldn't say that, but maybe re-examine. If you enjoy these shows, maybe re-examine your motives.
I feel like think about how much you're blocking out to enjoy them. Let's put it that way. It means you're probably ignoring the sexual violence and cruelty and the slavery apologism. Is that a word? But I know I don't even remember if I watched the first episode of Goblin Slayer I remember watching Shield Hero and it just being just like total pure incel fantasy. Everyone else is wrong, I'm right, and it's just
these shows, it's about the evolution of the characters.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think there's much more to say other than that.
No. There's not much more to say. It just adding to the cursed energy of this. Adding to the cursed energy of this is like two of what I think are the worst isekai shows in recent memory. Then,
yes.
Perhaps a little more lighthearted. We're single-handedly destroying hip hop in season.
Good.
We have the return of
already destroyed hip hop.
There's much worse people than people destroying hip hop. But yes, Hypnosis Mike season 2 is happening, and we're getting a new series based on voice actors attempting to rap, Paradox called Paradox Live, which is interesting. It is a multimedia project that started by releasing music,
Sure.
and now they're getting to the anime and eventually the mobile game. Honestly, if you told me Paradox Live was Hypnosis Mike Season 2, I'd believe you, because they're basically the same.
It's weird how similar they are. Like, honestly, like, it's... I mean, I don't know. It's very
rapping
strange to me.
Ikemen.
Yes, I guess it's just like...
And it's like...
I don't fully understand the angle, because, I mean, look, I am no middle-aged Japanese businessman, but, like, I don't really get... I don't understand the angle, right? Because, like, obviously you have the pretty boys, right? But, like, are there a lot of like female hip hop fans in Japan?
There's like, I don't. It's you know what it is, G?
More...
You know what it is? It's the voice actors. So I actually, in my little bit of research, apparently the Paradox Live project was pretty popular. Like, the music thing, like, it was doing pretty well. So, like, chart wise and everything. Like, and I think it's
Japan has been doing these weird kind of music voice crossovers for years untold.
I think a lot of it is the popular voice actors that they get to participate, and sometimes that's enough. And as much as so, I mean, to be clear, when I say they're killing hip hop, the music is awful. The best of these voice actors can maybe carry the beat, can ride the beat a little bit.
No flow,
the worst are 60-year-old men talking over a bargain bin Dr. Dre beat.
Is that why they picked hip hop? Because hip hop is a genre where, like, you could almost get away with that.
With just talking over a beat.
Like, most voice actors are fairly capable actual singers. It's pretty much a de facto requirement.
It's unfortunately singing and rapping unfortunately are very different skill sets.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I have a proposal how to make these shows interesting. Let Masako Nozawa rap.
Yeah.
Rapping Goku. Think about it.
Oh yes. That would be.
Oh man.
Somebody has surely made a video of that somewhere, but I was thinking of.
I will not accept AI voice trained imitations.
Some of those. I just had a flashback to Iro sending me Goku ASMR, Goku at your door ASMR.
Oh my god!
But I mean, the thing is with Hypnosis Mike, because that did have a first season that we watched at least some of, right? And
yes,
they had some pretty like funny, like, just absolutely absurd. Go ahead,
you got a dynamite vest, remember?
Yeah. Like, even I remember the fucking suicide vest made of mics.
And so, like, they just didn't do enough of that. Like, even if that, if they did that kind of thing, I could look past the mediocre music, but, like, they didn't keep up with that enough either. But yeah, it's just going back to the Paradox Live thing, like, I don't even think they play music in the trailer. I think I had to actually go hunt it down.
Oh man,
which I don't think is a good sign when they didn't have anybody actually rapping in the anime trailer. So that's clearly not the focus of the here. But a lot of people. Hypnosis Mike was pretty popular. A lot of people liked it, and including liking the music. I don't understand it. Even as somebody, even if I'm conceding that the only rap music I like is from like the 90s,
replace Shohayami's character with
like good rap music. Then.
Replace Shohayami's character with a different Shohayami character every week.
Yes. Oh god, that would be perfect. Yeah,
that would be a pretty good bit.
I will not brook this you guys and your boomer ass takes on hip hop, seeing as I am the only person who apparently still listens to hip hop in 2023.
I'm just saying, even by that standard of compared to what the kids are listening to these days. I would rather listen to that than
whatever's
happening in Hypnosis, Mike.
Yes, I mean, shout outs to Megalobox, the last anime to have a good pseudo-diegetic rap sequence in its penultimate episode.
When fucking Sachio starts rapping.
Yeah.
Look, there is a time and place for Japanese rapping, and the times are in the interludes, in the Gundam build intros, and in Persona.
And
sometimes only acceptable places.
Sometimes,
Also,
yes. Sometimes in the OPs you can get away with it.
Yes.
Of other anime,
I do have to bring up one thing because we're talking about music. I have both bad and good news for you, Jel.
Okay.
Because I quickly watched that Fooly Cooly Shoegaze trailer to hear the new Pillows track.
Yeah.
I got news for you, dude. That's not a new Pillows track.
No.
I think there is a new Pillows
okay.
track in there.
The one in the trailer is Lady Bird Girl, which was released on their 2008 album Pied Piper. It technically did not appear in Fooly Cooly.
That's what I meant when I meant new. When I said new, I meant like it was not in the original series.
But it's been around for a while.
And the reason why I say that is because I think the trailer for Grunge does take a song from, I forget which song they had. Like they didn't even bother finding a different song.
Oh, just like an old track.
Yeah,
I mean, I have heard that those shows spammed Little Busters pretty heavily. Which, if there's one thing I should tell you that you should not do in a Fooly Cooly sequel series, it's play Little Busters.
Yeah. Yeah. So like in the Grunge,
you get it once.
Yeah. Yeah, in the Grunge trailer, like they were playing a song from the original series. They didn't even go find a new one. So that's what I meant by new.
I see. All right. Well, did not mean to sidetrack.
I don't think the Pillows are in a rush to write new songs for Fooly Cooly.
What's our next cursed property?
Yeah. So moving on, I guess speaking of CG monstrosities,
good.
This is KamiErabi GOD.app. This is a project that has Yoko Taro's name on it, and it sounds like a Yoko. It sounds like a Yoko Taro ass premise with like so like I was reading the premise, and it's like this like loser kid gets sucked into this battle royale to grant his wish, which his only wish is to have sex with the girl he likes, and he's got to win this battle royale, and the first opponent he has to kill is the girl he likes.
Whoa. Of course.
Whoa. You know, like, oh, that's the most Yoko Taro take on this.
And
The
thing about Yoko Taro is that
he will do anything for money.
That's not what I was going to say, but there is that. But it's like he's listed as like original plan, so he's probably not actually involved with the.
That's why I said his name.
Minutia of the story.
His name is on it, right?
He probably wrote like one sentence on it.
And so the thing about Yoko Taro is that a lot of his plots, like if you just look at what happens, like there are these incredibly mean-spirited, like almost comically dark works,
right?
But he is able to infuse them with like a humanism in the details.
Yes. Right. So here's a Go ahead, Iro. I don't want to cut you off.
And like that's the element, you know, that like makes them memorable to us. Why we hold his name in high regard.
And as glib as I'm being about that sentence, I would watch that, but then I watched the trailer.
It's all CG, yeah.
This might actually look worse than Fooly Cooly Grunge.
Are we getting down to X-Arm levels here?
Nothing will ever be X-Arm level, but we're
what are you
getting
talking about that the animation of tossing that fried rice. Mwah.
Yeah, it was enough for me to at least think about X-Arm. Let's put it that way. And yeah, it just looks really bad.
I believe this is the first thing made by this studio? ?
Yeah. So and again, it's Yoko Taro's name slapped on it. He might have given them like a 2-sentence framework for like what the.
I mean,
and
I feel like
ran with
Yoko Taro's quickly ascending to Gen Urobuchi levels of his name is thrown onto a thing and it says written by with triple scare quotes on it.
I mean, look, if that means Yoko Taro is going to make a sick tokusatsu show and then some cool puppet shows, I'm all down for that.
I mean, yeah, dude, let's get Yoko Taro like in touch with Studio Peely.
Yoko Taro writes Thunderbolt Fantasy season 5.
So I guess this studio is like a offshoot from former Polygon Pictures staff.
I did see the credits. Some Knights of Sidonia people were involved, so yes, that would explain.
Probably the funniest thing about this show is that when they were talking about an Anime Expo panel, Yoko Taro had lost his Emil mask while drinking, and so came on stage with a giant leprechaun head instead.
Which Boston sports team is that? I don't remember.
The Celtics.
Like Notre Dame fighting Irish.
Celtics.
Yeah.
Anyway, Boston's bad.
And so is this anime.
Also, the line Yoko Taro lost his Emil mask while drinking is perhaps the most representative statement ever.
I mean, it is why we still hold him in such high regard, even if like 90% of the things his name is attached to is kind of dog shit.
Yeah.
Look, man, he's out here getting paid. He has made no. He's made no illusions about that. He's out here getting paid. So
get that bag.
Good for Yoko Taro. Bad for us in this one. I think.
I generally don't know if I'm interested in something that Yoko Taro's involved in unless Hana Kikuchi is also involved. Like,
yeah. All right. Well,
thankfully, that's the last of the cursed anime, and everything else on this list is great, right?
Well,
nothing but bangers from here on out.
There are, you know what? I intentionally put a bright spot.
I mean, we are starting with a banger here.
Yes. The next part on the list, Spy Family, the anime that everybody and your mother loves. Season 2 is happening. It's coming back. Although this is technically like the third season.
They did a break in between.
Right? Yeah. What do seasons even mean anymore?
Yeah.
So they're calling it season 2, and it's coming back. Yeah. I'm sure it will be more Spy Family. I'm not expecting. This is like, again, the safest pick you can ever make.
Well, yeah, but Ichiro Kochi is doing the writing for this season, so who knows what'll happen?
Wait, he is?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
I mean, Kochi has done loads and loads of like journeyman.
Oh yeah, of course.
I know, it's just funny.
Yeah. And I feel like there's only so
he's
far.
He's also doing the movie, is why.
Okay. I mean, there's only so far you could stray from the source material on Spy Family, right? Like,
here's my big pitch: Anya with a gun.
That has to happen at some point, right?
That's probably season 3 at this rate. But, in all seriousness, no, season 2. It's there's a lot to look forward to here. I mean, it's Spy Family, so on some level, you know what to expect. But I will say that season 2 will probably cover the famous / infamous boat arc of Spy Family, where the Forger family get on a luxury cruise. And,
well, I mean, anime has an excellent history with boats. So.
Yes. Oh, yeah, totally. Yes. But I mean, the real thing I would say, like, if there's anything to like look forward to in particular about this upcoming season, is that this will be finally giving us our first Yor focused arc.
Right.
Yes. Only like 30 episodes later.
Yes. It took a little bit to get there.
She's too strong. It's you can't always just. She'll just solve all the problems. If
also, like she's one of the weirder tonal shifts in that show, because that show is mostly like light and fairy dust, and then she's like a professional assassin who butchers people.
So I will say that this arc is probably where we get a little bit of where Tatsuya Endo says he's got to go back to the old me. Is whenever your focus arcs come up, because there's
his like previous manga was like a church assassin thing or something.
Yes. Tatsuya Endo prefers darker stuff tonally. It's just happened to hit it big with Spy Family, so this is the wagon he's hitched himself to. But whenever he gets to play with Yor, that is when all that where is my humanity as a hired killer subtext goes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you know, and hey, you get to watch Yor kill like 50 dudes.
Hey,
So.
that's all I wanted.
Yay! There you go. People who came in for the cute little girl and her
Hot ladies,
dog.
yeah.
Yes.
I'm just saying, if that's what you're here for, then
There's
have some more
have
some more murder.
Yes, there's many a good Anya antics on the way.
Yor has to keep her place at the top of the problematic women list. Yeah. All right. So that is our safety net. We'll always have Spy Family.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Some more returning things. I was surprised. I was surprised Arknights is coming back.
Apparently,
Dude, how do you,
as our resident Arknights expert, G, how do you feel about Arknights Perish in Frost?
it's a good title.
It's a good title.
Yeah, it's so weird, dude. Like
I just have to say, I genuinely thought that this was the first time there had been an Arknights anime.
The previous season was called Arknights Prelude to Dawn.
Yes. So, yes, as you alluded to, Jel, this is the second season of the Arknights anime, which adapts the events of the Chinese mobile game. I cannot turn this into me airing my grievances about Arknights, the gacha game, so I will just limit it to... I continue to be astonished that they are just adapting the story. Like... If you look at like most other like gacha anime adaptations, most primarily FGO, Fate Grand Order,
yes,
that is for better or worse. However you feel about what has become of the Titan Moon industrial complex,
that's your like prime example of like a big budget gacha based anime.
And they quickly realized and accepted that anybody who is watching this does not want to watch the mainline story. They want to watch lavish adaptations of the side material, right? The seasonal events, right? The let's go to Camelot, etc.
So, well, I mean, what I'll say about that stuff in FGO is that is the main story. It's just way further on in the main story, right?
So they skip a lot of.
They skipped like all the arcs nobody cared about.
I guess that's what I mean, right?
Is that care about?
Right? They're cutting to the part that people want, right?
Yeah,
right.
They literally held a poll that was like, so fans, which arcs do you want to see animated?
See, I kind of wish Arknights would do that, because the reality is that like Arknights' main story, like the main like, you know, mission to mission story is pretty basic, right? It is to summarize again, right? Arknights takes place in this sort of fictional, low apocalyptic dystopia where like, the world is beset by these like giant like climate disasters, I guess, and there are a persecuted minority of people who are infected with a disease called oropathy, which is basically
crystals or something, right?
It turns them into crystals, and it is caused by exposure to this setting's primary energy source.
Oh, I love the fallacy.
And so, like, and obviously, the subtext of Arknights is the whole like the people primarily afflicted with this disease are labor, working class, right? Like, if you think of oropathy as a like metaphor for like radiation sickness or something, like who are the people most likely to be exposed to it, right? And Perish in Frost sort of continues that plot line. It continues the plot line of Reunion, the sort of militarized oropathy advocacy group / terrorist organization.
What I recall about season 1 was the heroic the main character organization came into conflict with this organization over like, no, you can't use terrorist methods to get your point across.
Right. So I mean, that is the thing, Reunion. Right? Is that like in Arknights you play as yes, you play as
pharma.
Rhodes Island, right? Yes, you play essentially play as a big pharma corporation who develops drugs to address this disease, and it very much gets into the like. Yeah, as you said, Iro, like, violent change versus non-violent change, essentially. And we're going to stop the violent change with our own violence.
Yes. You see, if I become Space Hitler, then nobody else.
Exactly.
So the thing is, like, this is kind of a fascinating, like, sketch of a mythology you've laid out, G, but my knowledge of Arknights is mostly, it's one of those games where you collect a bunch of different girls. So
they're
how
boys
do we
too, but yes.
How do we get from one to the other? Like,
I mean, that's a so this is kind of what I mean. Is like this is kind of what makes this weird, right? Is because we are following like year one storylines. We were following storylines that were in the game at launch, and it's been. I mean, like credit to Arknights. It is one of the longer lasting gacha games. I think it's going to be approaching its 5th year soon, which by gacha standards is
pretty good. Yeah.
Yes, it's not bad to hang in there this long, and it kind of just feels weird because like the storylines have evolved, the characters have changed. Like I am seeing characters in this trailer, and I'm like, oh God, right? Yes, I forgot when you mattered. I forgot when you had a role to play in this story.
At the end of the day, G, are you just mad you're not going to get the Hot Lady Knight arc?
Yeah, kinda. I just want the hot lady like capitalist.
I sympathize,
arc.
But yeah.
The Corpo Knights.
I get you though.
What a good arc.
I think the Grand Blue Fantasy anime had the same problem, which I say problem when at least season 1 was one of the most like highest selling anime of all time. But they were adapting the main story, which is like the worst part of Grand Blue Fantasy, and like I'm sure everybody really wanted the what makes the sky blue arc, which is like one of the side stories that became like the most popular story in the thing, right?
Fuck that! I want the arcs where like Ryu and Cardcaptor Sakura show up and stuff like that.
Grand Blue single-handedly making every game's Ryu number lower, but and it is always weird with gacha game adaptations where it's like you're really putting the story to the test, and a lot of those games are relying on the strength of the character. I
spent money on this character, so I'm invested in their
gameplay and things more also, so than the story itself. But
so many of those stories are compromised by the need to also act as like drip feed introductions to new characters.
I mean, totally right. I mean, this is the whole point of like. The reason why I say these characters aren't relevant anymore is because they sold those characters 5 years ago.
Right.
They are not selling those characters anymore. They are old news. They are old and busted. Everybody now wants the cool dragon kung fu man who wears high top sneakers.
You see, like this new hammer came out this week.
It is literally
than the old one.
Yes, it is. It is. It is the Barbie doll / like live game power creep. Just. Thing, and I don't know. It's like, and also here's the thing: like Arknights, the anime was like, it was fine in the sense that it was like well made within its limitations. Like it was not a Girls Frontline-esque disaster. Like it was not like a complete it's not like the production completely broke down, but it was just very competent. It was not like you did not have that feeling of like, oh, that's where all that Rage of Bahamut money is going or something, right? Like, it's just...
It felt I feel like if you could take a screenshot of almost any frame and it would look nice, but watching it as an anime, I was never excited about what was happening on screen.
Yes, definitely.
They weren't really like taking advantage of the medium, right? It's just, here's the story, folks, and it's fine. Yeah, I remember just watching the first couple episodes myself. I didn't finish it, and that's kind of how I felt about it. So,
yeah.
All right, well, it's back.
Yeah. Yay! So I believe it's only going to be 8 episodes.
Okay, well, that's enough to count as a series.
I think the previous season was also only 10... ? It was less than a full core.
Yeah, I guess maybe that's good. I guess it maybe that speaks to they understand like how long these arcs actually are, and they're just pacing them accordingly.
Funnily enough, I've seen a lot of comments.
Is this airing on television? Because
I believe so.
Huh.
I don't know, but
obviously you need a bit of pull to get outside of the normal structure of a
It
show.
might be in that show. I'm not sure. But funny enough, I was seeing a bunch of comments that were like, "There's no way they can do this whole story in only 8 episodes." Comments.
I mean, I'll be real. I don't remember. I fucking read. I read the fucking VN version of this story like 4 years ago, man.
Right? Yeah.
I remember the big moments. I remember that the cat girl with the chainsaw shows up.
Okay.
Like, you know, that'll be good. She's cool.
I mean, if I were to take a wild stab in the dark, I would say a lot of gacha players overestimate exactly what is essential to a plot and what you can just cut like dead wood. So
I think the reason why people are saying that is because Arknights is a notoriously wordy game. Like,
right.
It's
and
not even necessarily in a good way. Like, oh, it is using these words to good effect. It is more just, oh, the writers of this game like to use like twice as many words to explain the same concept.
Demands to be taken seriously.
Yes, so I think you could cut out a lot of that stuff. It'll be fine.
All right.
Well, I'm sure we'll be talking about that later. Let's move on and let's talk about Precure, which we don't always do.
Precure.
Yeah,
but I guess this is a big deal because they're coming up on 20th anniversary.
Third entry of Superhero Time.
Yes. So I put this on here just because I think it's an interesting, weird little thing. So, like, to be clear, they've already had a 20th anniversary series going for a while now. There's going to be a big crossover movie, etc., etc., etc. But this is kind of a weird thing. Like, we're talking about the show's called Kibo no Chikara Otona Precure 23, and what it is they've taken the Precures from like the first or some of the earlier shows, not the first show, but and they're going to follow them as adults, which is
okay. So this is like a Nanoha like move.
Yes and no. Like the thing about
I don't think Nano has a good comparison because
You're
Nano
probably right.
Like Nanoha underwent huge genre shift,
and that's also like geared toward like adult
yes, it was always geared towards
whereas
adult.
Precure actually
when a series following an earlier series where the characters are now adults logically be targeted at
right, but
who watch
the difference is Nanoha was always targeted at men.
You're
like,
right.
It is a male otaku show, whereas Precure is very much a mainstream show, largely targeted at girls. So
yes, to the point of recent controversy, I recall.
Yeah, controversy is a bit overstated, but like the thing is, like, this isn't really something that you see a lot in magical girl media because the whole point of the thing is that, you know, it's meant to be an eternal happy childhood fantasy thing, you know. So I'm not entirely sure what they're going to do with this or how they're going to handle it. I just think it's a fascinating move to kind of to pitch as a 20th anniversary project, and as you were saying, Ivo, like this is very clearly targeted at people who grew up with these shows, some of the first few shows of the series, and you know, those people will be well into their late 20s, early 30s at this point. So,
will the Precures drink on screen alcohol?
I'm gonna say yes.
Okay.
Because that's a cheap laugh, right? Like one of them will get incredibly boozed and then have to be carried home or something like that. I honestly don't know. Like it's difficult to say who they're pitching this at. I'm sure that they will be aiming for as wide a periphery audience as possible. So I wouldn't be surprised if, like, you know, they're keeping this fairly family friendly. It's also being handled by your friends and mine, Studio Dean, which is neither here nor there. You know, Dean are workmanlike. They've done all sorts of stuff. But, like, normally Precure is very much a Toei in-house production. So, I just thought it was interesting on a couple of different levels. And, like, I think even if it's not great, it will be kind of fascinating to see what they do with it.
So this is not just the next Precure show. This is a separate...
There is a currently airing Sunday morning kids
Yeah.
Precure show that is
Okay.
happening, and that is the one that will be in like the big crossover
Uh-huh.
movie and all of that. So this is very much a spin-off thing. You know,
Okay.
it is
Is this airing in a late night slot?
I don't know.
Okay.
I should have looked that up actually, but it is very much not like when you say this year's Precure, this is not it. There is already a pretty
it's
good
closer
Precure
to
show.
like a Kamen Rider Black Sun or something.
Yeah, I mean, like this is the kind of thing that you would probably in the past have released as an OVA or something like that, or a V Cinema or a straight to disc thing. It's just interesting that it exists, and like we were saying earlier, like Precure is very much targeted at young girls, but it has always had a significant like minority adult fandom because a lot of those early shows were animated by the same guys who had just finished doing Dragon Ball Z, and so there's some pretty spectacular fights in there.
Precure has always had a reputation of having strong animation.
Yes, and that reputation has been more or less deserved over the years. I think it's fair to say that the modern shows are generally animated how you'd expect kids shows to be, except for like enormous animation bumps for like big dramatic fights.
Normal for 4 episodes, bump, and then back to normal for a while.
Yeah. But
there's at least a couple Precure shows that I know that have like a weirdly like prominent number of like, I guess at the time Gainax, now Trigger staff working on it. So.
I mean, especially the early shows were like famous for having way, way, way better animation than you would expect from something in that slot. And again, like I said, there was a lot of refugees is the wrong word, but like veterans who had worked on a lot of 90s shonen stuff in there. And Precure has always leaned a little more towards the shonen-y side of Magical Girl for that reason. But yeah, it's just interesting that that they are choosing to do this rather than just like do a straight
like a quote unquote normal anniversary thing, right? Where they're still kids and it's
exactly.
happy fun times.
To be clear, that's what that crossover movie will be. Like,
of course,
the pitch there is like it's the first time they have done an every Precure movie for like I think 4 or 5 years.
They're doing a superhero wars over there, and over here is our Deca Ranger 10 years after.
I mean, like the thing is, in recent years, Toei has been smart about exploiting the nostalgia value for maximum commercial return, right?
Naturally.
I think the cynical way to look at this is that it's another example of that, but just the whole concept, like I said, is kind of weird and off kilter enough that I think it's worth a look if you are a Precure fan.
Okay.
Ultimately, it's get that nostalgia money, right? But it's always fun to see time skips. Even when they end up being a
time-honored narrative trope that always works out.
Just like in perhaps our next thing.
Good tie-in, Iro. Yes, that works. Okay, actually.
Well, yeah. Let's so we'll move on to some new things happening here.
Yeah,
and you all have been talking about Freiren. Beyond Journey's End, which is a manga you've all read. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Not me. I can't read.
This is a manga that sort of exploded onto the scene a couple years ago.
I weirdly not. I don't want to say surprisingly high profile, but
I think it spread really quickly. Right?
Yes, that's a good way of putting it.
It got really popular really fast.
I think. I mean, I guess, Iro, do you want to explain?
Yeah.
What's it about?
It follows the eponymous Freiren, who is the elf wizard in a Dragon Quest party, basically. But the sort of hook is that it takes place many years after this adventuring party did their thing, and as an elf, she is immortal, or extremely long-lived, and so. Because it's the world after the hero has done everything, and she's like, well, it's been 50 years or whatever. I guess I'm gonna retrace my journey out of nostalgia.
Is this another Sadness of Immortality story?
A little bit, yes.
A bit.
There's definitely a sense of like melancholy of like
Mhm.
it sort of explores that like for this hero's party, right? That for these legendary heroes who defeated the Demon King, again, intentionally very like standard fantasy tropes.
Yeah.
This was like the greatest adventure of their lives,
Right.
And for her, it was almost Tuesday, right? It was.
Oh, we went on that road trip like last month.
Yeah, right. Like she,
It was another chapter in a very long life.
So the rest of the party are not elves, and therefore they're old now. Is that
Yes. Old or even deceased. Like,
yeah, I believe the inciting incident is the death of one of the party, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I guess yes. Tonally, yes. That is sort of the kick starts the story. Is the passing of one of those party members, and sort of has her like for the first time in her very long life thinking about her own like not really mortality but connection to the world and the other people around her, right? Like
the transience of things, one might say.
Yes, right. And she, so there's sort of this like elements of nostalgia, but also like she is, she meets a new party, and she accompanies them on this journey. And there is definitely that element of like, yes, what if Gandalf was a little girl, sort of like, just, like what if the like max level party member, like what if like you beat Dragon Quest X and the highest like level party member just showed up in Dragon Quest XI as a party member, is sort of
just hung out, like
it just hung out, right?
That's kind of the plot of Final Fantasy X. So
yeah, but Auron isn't actually like.
Auron is. Let's not talk about how old Auron is.
Yeah,
yes, and also, I mean, just mechanically, he is not like.
Yes, I know it was a joke, but
I know, but yes, but it's sort of that vibe, right? And I think the thing about Freiren that I'm very curious how people are going to respond with this anime is like, Iro, maybe you echo some of this.
What's up?
Freiren's popularity is probably because it is built on a really strong premise and a very strong start.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about Freiren these days?
I'm getting some vibes about another recent show that was about
some arcs have been better than other arcs.
Yeah, I was going to say,
I think that's fair.
We're just going back to some previous ground here with
maybe there have been long hiatuses in this manga in the sense of I definitely get the feeling of there are long hiatuses because the creators are going, oh god, what do we do?
Yes, we're not prepared for like the meteoric rise of this manga.
And so like for example, the current running arc in the manga feels to me very pandery, sort of like, this is probably what people want, ? When to me, I'm like, no, you could have kept going as you were. I don't need to see this.
Do you feel like they're kind of casting about for ideas?
Yeah, a bit. I think.
I will also say. No, you go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I will also say that, like, in many ways, I don't even know how much of this will actually affect the anime itself. Like, the anime itself will likely cover, the
good part, quote unquote.
I don't even go that. I don't want to even be like that mean about later parts of the manga. It's just
the stronger parts, whatever.
I think the probably the ideal scenario for Freiren is it gets 1 12-episode core, ends there, and everybody goes, "Wow, that was a really great fantasy story."
The Promise Neverland situation. Don't have a season 2.
They are doing an Oshinoko with this, where the first episode will be 90 minutes, right?
Is that just going to be a thing now?
I really hope not.
What was the other?
It is going to continue to be a thing.
Because there was another show. I'm trying to remember.
What was Inner Chambers?
Oh yeah, that was one.
Yes, it did. It did.
The first one I remember is Fate Zero. All those years ago, was that double length?
That was not Fate. Was that Fate? Did Fate Zero?
Yes, Fate Zero has a double length.
Yeah, well, double episode is like one thing.
Triple,
but like triple or more.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's like
I'm just saying that's the first time I remember the concept.
I understand why Freiren would do this. I'm like,
Oh, I definitely know why you would do this.
yeah,
yes.
but it's like
pacing wise,
uh,
it is actually a pretty sensible decision. But
it's just like, oh, please,
It's a lot to
right?
ask.
It's a big ask.
Yeah.
Well, I think really, the quickest and easiest way to illustrate like Freiren's like presence. It is the anime this season getting a Yoasabi OP. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And probably worth mentioning as well is that this production is handled by Madhouse.
Madhouse and the director of Bocchi the Rock.
Right.
Yes.
And I mean, look, Madhouse have produced all sorts of stuff over their long, long history. They've produced masterpieces. They produced absolute garbage, but they are a prominent enough studio that the name itself carries a certain amount of weight.
I can't wait to see the main girl turn into a PS2 polygon model.
Hell yeah.
I mean, it would fit perfectly with the Dragon Quest inspired vibes, but
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I don't think it'll necessarily be a transcendent thing, but it seems
good,
like a
though.
pretty
Solid.
pretty like
A safe bet.
yeah.
Seems like there's some good story gristle there you could get into.
Mhm.
Oh, definitely. I again, it's like the thing of like we probably talk about it the way we do because we are still reading an ongoing manga, but
Yes.
I definitely remember reading those opening chapters and like having that sort of like episode 1 of To Your Eternity-esque like reaction to it of like, god damn.
Yeah.
Man.
Getting it done, yeah.
Let's not talk about that show. All right, well, that's 2 safe bets. We're probably already doing better than last season, so
Yay.
that's something. Let's talk about race cars, I guess. With Overtake.
Overtake.
Is this an original?
I believe it is.
I believe so, yes.
Anime original.
The only reason I think we put this on the list is because it's by Troika and it's being directed by Aoki, also known for Fate Zero and It Invaded.
Yeah.
And I guess Recreators.
It'll probably look good. So it is about.
I think he also directed
okay. So here's. I was kind of on the fence.
Mm-hmm.
I was saying, were you saying something? I'm sorry.
Oh, I just said Wandering Sun was good. A nice looking show.
Yeah. Cars. This is about what? Racing.
I personally was on the fence putting this on here because, like, yes, the things that you mentioned are notable. But God, when I watch the trailer, it looks boring. The like, it looks nice. Like the quality, it's like technical quality is nice, but it's like, teenage boy who's gonna gambare his way to the top of racing or whatever, and he appears to be like.
Isn't he not even a racer? He's like the sports photographer for the racing.
Yeah, but he's also like he, at least from what I'm gathering from the trailer, he seems to be like the asshole natural genius guy.
Of course.
I mean, it's a sports anime. Like.
Yeah, but you either have the asshole natural genius guy or like the hot-blooded meathead, right?
So, I mean, occasionally you can wrangle them both into a single character. It's not recommended, but you can do it.
Well, yeah, but they're like different personality types, right?
Yeah,
so, like,
no, I know
usually, so he's not the hot-blooded meathead type. He's the I know nothing but racing, and I'm not here to make friends. I think he might say that in the trailer, like that type of character.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not feeling that. But
as someone who had a hot 2-week affair with what was it? F1
manager.
Yeah, the game in which you manage a sports racing team. I feel like you could do something pretty interesting with this because, like, obviously you have all the trappings of a sports anime, but like racing is such a heavily engineering, mechanics, and quite frankly, business and finance driven sport. Like, there is so much about like motor racing that is like, it is not just how good is the driver, it is how good are your engineers, how good is your funding, right? How good are your sponsor deals? I mean, like, these are things that, like, I am not like in F1, but I am adjacent. I know people who are into it, and from secondhand, it's like F1 fans, it feels like they talk as much about like what is happening outside the race as in the race itself.
So
and
as someone who is fully into F1, yes, absolutely. It is a high-powered soap opera as much as it is an actual
Right.
sport.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's a millionaire, everybody's an asshole.
I mean, it's a sport about racing cars. Like, it's as inaccessible as a sport can
Right.
get.
Yes.
And
Go ahead, Zig.
Because I am one of those F1 sickos, I kind of pushed for this to be included on here. The thing is, like, this is, I think one of the unusual things about this is that it is based on an actual, like, regulated series. It's meant to be Formula 4, which is like one of the very, very low end, like, entry series for people who want to work their way up the ladder one of these days. So,
right, I mean, the main guy's like a 16-year-old kid, right?
Yeah,
So like he
yeah.
would be at the bottom of the ladder here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the problem is that, like, and, you know, forgive me, fellow F1 fans, but F1 is also frequently fairly boring as a sport, you know?
Right.
So it's the thing about racing anime is that you can go really wacky, or you can play it dead straight, and there's kind of
This
no
looks
in
pretty
between
straight.
ground. Yeah,
Like-
exactly. You know, and I think, you know, I mean, not to bang the old cliche drum, you know, but I think it depends on what they can get out of the character interactions. Because I don't think that the F1 part will be a huge draw in and of itself. You know, I think that as G was saying, you know, an F1 or a racing workshop with engineers, with management, with corporate interests, all of that kind of stuff, you know, can be a really good place to, like, whip up some fertile character and, like, team-based drama.
Right.
But that's difficult and very unflashy, and, you know, so you can't really fall back on cheap tricks to make it work. So that the writing will have to be on point, really.
But you see, there was a racing anime that did focus heavily on the team drama and the engineering and the corporate dealings happening behind closed doors.
Yeah.
Is it IGPX?
The thing that happened to be racing were giant robots. Shout outs to IGPX. Where's IGPX 2, damn it?
Yeah.
Missed an opportunity for an even deeper cut F-Zero anime reference there.
Well, I think
man.
the only thing this
Not in
writer
teams
has
though, right? Not an F-Zero, right? I mean, they're all also wait. Is every F-Zero racer also a bounty hunter, or is that just a Captain Falcon?
I don't know. We have to move on.
We cannot get into the deep.
we cannot talk about Captain Falcon on this podcast. I was going to say
What's the lore on Samurai Goro?
I was going to say the only real full-on writing credit for this author is Idolish 7, which I did not realize.
Good.
God, they have made so many Idolish 7s. So I don't know, man.
Yeah, but also, like, we have seen amazing shows come from people who wrote Total Dross
Of course,
before.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm not, like, I think obviously Choika is a good studio. What's his name? The director is a good director. You know,
Yeah.
Can be.
Yeah.
I think that there are. It's set up with a solid foundation, but yeah, it really will be how much entertainment can they milk out of it. You know.
Yeah.
He might be a better storyboarder than director.
I mean,
Well,
look, that's true of lots of directors.
Yeah.
but
They it's got a chance, which you know, I think also
it is at
being
least a fairly unusual premise. Which
I think it being
given
an
time
original
to-
as well helps its case. So
Yeah. All right.
we'll see.
What's this next one? I don't think I've ever heard of this.
Yeah, let's talk about Migi and Dali. This is the second and unfortunately last work by the author of Haven't You Heard of Sakamoto?
Yes.
Oh, right. Yes.
Oh,
Unfortunately, she passed away recently, but this was her, and she did finish this project. She was starting another one before she passed away, but which, you know, that's a kind of, you know, a notable thing but I was mostly looking at it as, when I actually watched the trailer and read the premise, it's kind of weird. Like it does not appear to be anything like her previous work. Like,
okay,
so like, haven't you heard of Sakamoto? If people haven't seen that, it's like a deadpan comedy type of thing, right?
Right.
Like,
Where Sakamoto is this comically perfect individual.
Yeah, this does not appear to be that at all.
Okay.
This appears to be. So I had to do a little research. It was the kind of the walking the fine line of trying to figure out what this thing is without spoiling anything. Because if you read the description gives you like nothing. Like, just tells you absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
So I was reading the description, and it's like, or I was doing research, and it's like, I think it's these. There's these like really creepy, very pretty twin brothers, and I think they are running some kind of grift on this family to get revenge for their mother that died or something. Now again, I did not dig any deeper because I don't want to spoil anything. Those details might be off, but it appears to be sort of like a. Honestly, I did think of it almost like an Oshinoko situation of like they're trying to like play along in this scenario while they're investigating what happened to their mother or something like that. So it's almost more of like a mystery type of thing. And I just got like really weird, creepy vibes from the trailer, and it was very interesting to me.
I think, and I might be mistaken here, but I also think that one of the shticks is that the foster parents think they only have one child.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting out of reading.
Right, like they're like rotating.
Yeah, they're doing the twin swap thing. Like.
Yeah, and it does not appear to be a comedy. It seems to be pretty serious. And I will take anything. I was talking about creative bankruptcy earlier. I will take anything that is taking any kind of chances or trying to do something a little bit different. And it looked interesting. Now, I've also stated before, my distaste for anime mysteries or even mystery stories in general, usually. So, if it's going to be, that primarily, that might not be my favorite thing, but, we can't talk about God, what's the show we're watching this season? The Undead Murder Farce. But that's not usually my favorite kind of thing, but I don't know. It's like I said, I'll take anything that is doing something a little bit different here, and it looked interesting to me. Go ahead, Zig. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I kind of love anime mysteries because I get super caught up in the what if that this, what if that, and then every single time the conclusions are disappointingly mundane and they always crush me. It's the lost problem, basically.
Right.
But I am always willing to be swept along on a tidal wave of insane speculation, at least.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I mean that looked interesting, and I think until we see more, I can't really. I don't want to look up more, so we'll see exactly what it is once it airs. But yeah,
yes, it's a manga. You said,
yeah. So I think it was, and like I said, I believe she did finish it. So
yes, it is a completed manga.
All right,
so it is a complete story. So we'll look forward to that one.
Okay.
All right, let's talk about the Apothecary Diaries.
Yeah,
adaptation here.
Put this one on here. I believe it's a light novel. I'm familiar with it from the manga adaptation. Right. This is it takes place in like Imperial China type setting, about a girl who was an apothecary in the pleasure district of the city and then was kidnapped basically and sold to the Imperial Palace to work as a maid. And with her apothecary skills, she is eventually discovered and promoted to poison taster for one of the concubines. And so it's like Chinese court drama type stuff, with her as, an apothecary and sort of solving episodic like mysteries or dealing with problems in the palace.
Do we have this is a very nerdy question, but do we have any idea precisely what period of Imperial China we're talking
I'm sure someone more versed than I could could figure that out. To me, it's just like vaguely Imperial China, right? Like,
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a pretty common premise for this genre / demographic.
I think the commoner plucked out to serve in the palace with the
and there's something specifically about
whatever.
making either being an apothecary or making potions or something like that.
There's no like magic in this at all. It's
okay.
It's like I'm good with herbs.
It's not
like I poison.
It's not like a fantasy.
No.
Other than it being anime,
right?
I would advise I would advise the audience to be careful because there is also a terrible potions-based isekai show this season.
Yes, there is.
Don't get them confused. Yeah.
It's like I believe the first arc or whatever is people are getting poisoned, and she's like, "Oh, as an apothecary, I can tell that it's because of your face powder has poison in it, like a poisonous compound." Type stuff, right? All this sorts of things. And then she becomes a food taster, right?
Right.
So that sort of stuff. Go ahead.
I mean, you've read the manga, right? So
I have.
You clearly you've enjoyed it enough to read the manga. So
it's like in the current anime landscape, right? Just a relatively mundane kind of story was appealing to me, right? I don't think this will be like transcendent or anything, but I enjoyed the manga.
Is that another theme of this episode?
I guess it's like I don't want to. I'm not gonna be out here saying, "Oh, this is amazing."
Right? You don't want to oversell it. Yeah,
I like it. It's just this girl solving problems.
Right.
With her medical knowledge.
Well, we can add another fairly safe bet, or I guess unless they really blow the adaptation,
really fuck it up. Yeah, I don't know.
The trailer seemed fine.
I think there's quite a lot of variation. That are the mysteries good? I guess is the main thing,
right?
The trailer seems fine. It looked like they were doing a competent job of adapting things.
Just a bunch of court intrigue, different consorts trying to get at each other, or
nice.
some sort of scheme happening in the court.
Which does involve a lot of poison historically.
Yes, indeed.
So
I mean, in anime, the Imperial Chinese court has always been a byword for weird Byzantine backstabby. All sorts of stuff, definitely not like the Imperial Japanese court, which definitely doesn't have any of that at all.
Indeed.
Yeah. All right. What's
this next one? I don't think I've heard of this either.
Yeah.
All right. So I put this on here. 16-bit sensation, another layer.
Okay. Is this
all right?
Involved?
So hear me out, okay?
This is a real old man bullshit, huh?
All right, hear me out on this one. So, I'm not going to claim that the show looks good. Okay, I'm just going to put that out here.
Okay.
But the premise is there's this girl. She's an illustrator.
Okay,
and she gets sent back in time to the 90s.
Oh, I know exactly what's going to go on.
And she ends up working for a game company that's making PC 98 dating sim.
Oh yeah.
And she becomes an illustrator for those games.
So knowing the trends of what's going to be popular.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and yes, she knows, right? So she knows what's going to be coming up in the future, and she can use that to her advantage.
We can fucking undercut Type Moon before they even get started.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'm going to invent Saber in 1992.
Fuck that! No, that's way too unambitious. We're gonna invent Tokimeki Memorial. In
Tokimeki.
Yeah.
Just
so
strangle Nitro Plus in the crib.
All right, now I know why you brought this one up, Jel. Because
what was that, G?
Now I know why you brought this up.
Yes, so that alone.
The moment you said PC 98 dating sims.
Yeah, so that alone piqued my interest. Now, if you actually look at the trailer, it's some real cutesy. What was that? Doga Kobo one with the girls making video games. Was it New Game?
Sure, I don't remember.
It was pretty popular. It's very cute girls making video games vibes. But there's a lot of like really old gray computers and stuff. I'm like, man, what if they like actually get into the weeds and how games were made in the 90s? Like, I would be.
It's interesting, Jel. Actually, although it doesn't look great, if you look at it the way it was intended on a CRT,
this anime must be watched on a CRT.
The opening is titled 65535.
Oh god.
I will say I'm a little disappointed that the characters look so modern. Like,
yes,
when you tell me, send back to the 90s, I was like,
they did not make any effort to design them appropriate. What if like you can actually see the game they're working on has the 90s art style?
Oh,
like,
hell yeah.
It'd have been so good if she goes back in time and they like draw the characters in that style. Like,
right.
That'd be great, but they'd never get away with it. Is the problem?
Right.
Like, huge missed opportunity.
I'm going to be real, right? Like, this is really, I mean, as an artist, right? Like, this is a really fascinating premise to me because, like, I'll be real, right? Like, I'm sure everybody has their own, like, time travel fantasy, right? And I will admit, one of mine is totally, like, what if I got sent back to 2001 and I was at the front door of From Software's office and I said, hold up, I got an idea for a mech game. Like,
you could single-handedly invent Armored Core.
Become Mr. Armored Core. Like, could I fucking cut Kawamori at the knees and invent Armored Core before him?
I mean, you certainly could, and then you would render all Souls games having never existed because Armored Core would be successful.
Is that a trade you're willing to make?
I mean, that is the monkey's paw thing,
right? No, but it's like, I mean, right? It's like any of that stuff, right? Because it's like, in so many ways, right? It's like,
get ahead of the trend, right?
Well, because here's the thing, here's the thing, like, truly, like, I do truly believe this. I think predicting trends on what becomes popular in pop culture is, like, legitimately, like, one of the hardest things to do as a creator, right?
Yeah.
Like, especially these days when, like, productions are, an anime may take a year to get made. A video game, we're talking half a decade at this point, right?
Yeah.
Like, how do you, like, I mean, we're seeing this all the time with a lot of games, right? It was like, we see games that are coming out now where it's clear they were made informed by what they knew, like, 5 years ago about what was popular. And it's like, how do you stay ahead of the curve? It's basically impossible, right? So it's like, yeah, bro, send me back to 1992. I'll invent Vash the Stampede.
Yeah.
Like, I'll run to Sunrise and be like, you have to let Tomino make the full F91 TV series. It can't just be the movie. You have to make the full 50 episode version of his vision of the late youth.
Yeah.
It's for anybody who's a fan of media and anybody who's ever touched any aspect of the creative process, it's actually kind of an intoxicating premise.
Yeah.
So,
but that's the thing. Will this anime actually live up to any of that?
I think it will probably go for cheap jokes about how crazy 90s games were, and you know what? I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I think it's I'm hoping it's like a most recently example Bocchi the Rock situation of get past the character designs I don't like, and underneath there's actually something fun, and we'll see. We'll have to watch. The episode.
I would love to see the show at least do the joke of, like, how much pain a modern digital illustrator would be in getting
they had to go back to the
90s pixel by pixel
and working with
yeah.
like the most rudimentary of digital art programs, like where, like, hey, at that era, even having a one-step undo would have been considered revolutionary.
Yeah.
Whatever, man. You don't understand the power of PaintShop Pro 2.0.
Look, like, as somebody who started using Photoshop in version like 2 or 3 when they didn't have, when they only had one undo,
right.
So,
remember when you could have like 3 layers and it would, like, destroy your PC?
Yeah, those were the days. Yeah, so we'll see. It does look like, I mean, from the trailer, it did look like they might get a little into the weeds on the equipment and stuff they're using to make the games and stuff, which would be interesting to me.
I mean,
like, a lot of times I'm not interested in that kind of stuff, depending on the context. But in this one, I think that would be fun. But
I mean, what is the iconic 90s like PC dating sim that you spoof, it has to be Tokimeki Memorial.
It's the Pokemon
right?
is the one, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
But
we'll see.
just thinking about like Metal Slayer Glory or whatever.
Right. Oh, the like more obscure ones.
Or it's like you couldn't even draw the whole picture. You had to make the tiles and then arrange the tiles to make the whole
Perhaps,
picture or whatever.
perhaps, time travel shenanigans are the reason why infamous Porn VN Sex 2 exists.
All right,
Sure.
we need to move on to Sex 2. Let's go to the next show.
It's the sequel to Sex.
This is real.
Who put this one here? Because I thought I'd be the only person talking about this next one.
Okay, do you know what this is, G? Because I don't even know what it is, and it looks okay. So why don't you explain Under Ninja to us then? Because
sure, there's always one of these a season. Under Ninja is seems to be an anime adaptation of the seinen manga of the same name, Under Ninja, which is the current work of Kengo Hanazawa, who is famous for Boys on the Run and probably I Am a Hero, which were prominent manga probably a few years back.
I feel like we talked about this at one point.
Yes, and I bring this up because Kengo Hanazawa is, I don't want to say like notorious or infamous, but he has a very specific approach to writing characters, which is he kind of loves intentionally writing like pathetic incel losers as his protagonists and like examining like the societal and personal experiences that led to these people being like so petty, self-centered, and usually unintelligent. But
I've heard some shit about I Am a Hero. Like
I Am a Hero is, man, I like a lot of things about I Am a Hero. I dislike a lot of things about I Am a Hero.
That's all.
But I guess the thing I would say is that I still read every new Kengo Hanazawa work because there is something fascinating. He again, like intentionally unlikable protagonists, like intentionally written to be like fuck ups and losers and outcasts.
To be clear, like, is that applying to Under Ninja, which is
yes?
Have you actually read that? Or
yes,
okay,
I'm up to date on the manga. Under Ninja's premise is basically it takes place in modern day in an alternate history where ninjas were one of the strongest military forces in Japan until they were disbanded by MacArthur's administration in post-war Japan.
So it's historically accurate then.
However, naturally, the ninjas survived and continue to operate in the shadows in modern day, affecting all matter of both domestic and international policy. Ninjas are regularly deployed into the Middle East as operatives. Ninjas regularly work for highest bidder corporations and politicians. But the ninja organization is not it's not all encompassing. It is not like this purely like fully elite organization of super spec ops ninjas like Naruto, like most ninja fiction. The ninjas are ranked, Ginin, Chunin, Jonin.
Yep.
And ninjas at the very bottom, Ginin, are denigrated, treated like crap. They are given terrible, odd jobs. They are often told to perform like extremely menial and degrading labor that, with their, highly capable ninja skills. And the thing about Under Ninja is that it's kind of a commentary on like labor as a like the value of labor as a premise, because it follows the story of Kuro, who is a Ginin rank ninja who lives as a NEET, who just kind of lies around in a dilapidated apartment all day until somebody gives him a job to do. And these jobs are usually, again, menial and degrading, but he has all the skills of a stereotypical anime ninja. He can run on walls. He can disguise himself. He can, throw ninja darts. He is skilled in the art of assassination. And but he is regularly told he is shit, he is worthless, he's a nobody, he isn't worthy of being paid a living wage, he isn't worthy of happiness or the pursuit of prosperity.
Right.
I've just got to chime in and say, saying oh, it's a story about inherent racism and classism and the struggle of the working classes. But what if they were ninja? Feels like some real fucking galaxy brain archive of our own crap here.
But also, that's the way you're describing this. It's like it could be really easy for this to be read as a parable of I, the sweaty NEET in my apartment who does nothing but jack off, is actually super cool and nobody understands it, and this almost masturbatory see, everybody shits on me even though I'm actually the best.
I wouldn't necessarily say it goes fully into that sort of fantasy.
Right. I'm saying it feels like it's edging up towards that line.
I could definitely see
feel there is a whole spectrum that this premise could fall on.
Definitely so. And of course the thing is I am sort of just speaking to one of the thematic pillars of Under Ninja's idea, which is people undervaluing their own labor because of how the hierarchies of society have told them to expect to value their labor, which again, I'll admit, speaks to me a lot as an artist who is regularly told my labor is not worth very much, despite the amount of work I put into it. And this being a thing made by a professional artist, you can maybe see a little bit of the parallels that are felt there with what a ninjutsu is sort of representing in this story. But that's kind of how it starts, and then naturally, as all sorts of stories like this go, our protagonist is given a job that is starts off seemingly simple, but actually plays into this grander conspiracy.
It's never a milk run.
About the shadow war that is being fought between the various branches of Japan's governments. Who are all militarizing their own ninja factions, because the ninja of Japan are, they are not, despite the fact they live in the shadows, they are not an apolitical entity. There are politicized factions that owe their loyalties to different branches of the Japanese government. And, there are foreign interests as well, and perhaps even those who are even more underground than the ninja. The under ninja,
of course,
and
who else?
I guess at some point there are the under ninja.
And I guess the thing I would say about under ninja is I'm not gonna get behind this in a way it like a Beastars or a Dorohedoro or something. This is not this is low key one of my favorite manga in recent memory. It's just more. I'm really surprised it's getting an adaptation.
Sure.
So it's also being adapted by Tezuka Productions.
Right.
I mean, they do just stuff from time to time.
It's still quite a weird fit, though.
So let me ask you, G. What you're saying sounds potentially very serious and intense, but I did not get those vibes from watching.
Oh no,
the trailer.
It's mostly So. I mean, it's most of the time it is pretty black comedy. It is the guy, the
I think that's the aspect that was appealing to me when I was checking this out.
I'm talking about a lot of the plot stuff, but also the protagonist, who is this neat Genin, shinobi, is also in fact an asocial fuck up in every sense of the word. He is not pretending to be a NEET. He is actually a NEET. He is in fact a jobless, uneducated loser who lies around, drinking all day and stealing, women's underwear, and generally just being a piece of shit. Who also happens to be a ninja.
Right. But for comedy purposes,
yes.
I just can't get the Onion headline out of my head. Man, local man only able to pay attention to political treatise when ninjas are added on.
Honestly, that is basically.
Go ahead, G. Finish.
Oh no, that's a one sentence summary of Under Ninja, basically.
Yeah. I also just like the art too. I was liking the vibes, basically.
I really, some rough CG aside in the trailer, I actually really like Kendo Hanazawa's art. He draws people in a very, intentionally naturalistic sort of ugly way. I mean, I don't want to say ugly, just they look like people. Like they look like, they are not idealized anime people. They are, real ass people.
That's something I've been thinking about a lot lately. Just slight tangent here, and then we can move on. Where like, I really like when artists draw people with like different shaped heads and stuff. Like,
oh yeah. No,
I hate when you get like. I hate to say this, but I always think of it as the Love Live effect, where everyone is exactly the same.
Right.
You swap the hair.
Yeah.
You swap the hair and the eye colors.
The Love Live same face is like a meme.
Yeah, and that's just something I've been thinking about a lot recently, and I was thinking about it when I was looking at the character designs for this. So how everybody has like, it's not even about being attractive or unattractive or whatever. It's like they're just different. They look like different people.
Oh,
it's something I kind of associate with this style of like misanthropic seinen manga, because Inyo Asano is also very good at drawing weirdly shaped head people. Like,
yeah,
I would say those two are peers in many ways, both artistically and thematically, in terms of their subject matter, for better or worse. But yeah, so I can't speak to like how good this anime is going to turn out. I will.
You're not putting your wholehearted support behind this like you have for others, like you said,
really,
right?
But because also I think just some people are going to like watch this show and like just frankly be pretty turned off by it. Like it's kind of a intentionally you're
gonna miss
repugnant show in some regards,
right? Miss the point or whatever, but yeah. All right.
I mean, look, I'll take intentionally repugnant over accidentally repugnant any day.
Fair enough.
Well, I'm willing to give that one a shot for sure. So,
okay.
Well,
speaking of unintentionally or perhaps intentionally repugnant.
Speaking of trends from 4 or 5 years ago,
let's talk about Gundam Build Metaverse. Maybe this should have gone in the curse section, right?
Probably. I'm going to be honest.
Did I miss that?
You're making a slight pronunciation issue there, Joe. It's Gundam Build Metaverse.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, maybe this should have gone in the curse section. But why don't you guys tell me what the deal is with this?
Okay, once there was a show called Gundam Build Fighters, and then everything went wrong.
Gundam Build Fighters was good, and then everything that happened.
This is the newest in the Gundam Build sub-series, which has gotten steadily worse over time, with
also increasingly inaccurately named.
With a bizarre spike in quality during the back half of Re-Rise, and then otherwise it just has been garbage the rest of the time.
I mean, what is there to say about Gundam Build at this point, right? It is the kids show sub-branch of the Gundam franchise. It is the one where the kids build the Gunpla and they become real in, in the original series on, like freaking Yu-Gi-Oh! Dual Deck like tables, and
I mean, it was literally magic. It was magic.
Yes, and then in the later series, it is now an MMO, and in many ways, this is why Gundam Build Metaverse is sort of represents the logical conclusion of how Sunrise would handle this series, right? Mm-hmm. I mean,
it
go ahead. Let's lay it on us.
It was always a show that was basically a commercial, but now it is literally a show that is a commercial.
Right. I mean, so to be clear, the Metaverse is not just them capitalizing on a stupid catchy. I mean, it is them capitalizing on a stupid catchy phrase that businessmen like, but it is also meant to be the theoretic spearhead of Bandai's Metaverse initiative. Because
whatever the hell that means,
because Japanese media companies love being 5 years too late to the party, so many Japanese companies are still going forward with their like metaverse or crypto gaming concepts. And there's this idea that that Bandai is currently working on a Gundam metaverse that Build Metaverse will be a part of
somehow, right?
I mean, okay, like, doom and gloom aside, this is basically just an overinflated multimedia project. Like,
right.
At the end of the day, this isn't going to amount to anything. I don't think this is actually going to like spell the doom of like the Gundam franchise or like anything. It's just going to be a dumb, expensive boondoggle that like everyone will forget in like 5 years.
And like in terms of the actual anime component of this, I am just expecting a like build battle log type situation that has no bearing upon anything, right?
The only,
and it's worth pointing out as well, the fundamental idea of Gundam Build is kind of bad all the way down. It's only like the care and love and attention of the crew who made the first show that made it good. Right?
Oh, totally. Yes. I mean, there's a reason most of us wrote off Gundam Build Fighters. When it
the idea is about as commercially bankrupt as you can possibly get.
Yeah,
right?
And so in many ways, it's not surprising that Gundam Build Metaverse is this, because Gundam Build Metaverse is what we all expected Gundam Build Fighters to be 5 years ago. Like that is
5.
Okay. Oh my. How bad? How off
am
I?
This is a 10th anniversary.
Let's examine
project.
the damage.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Gundam Build Fighters aired in 2013.
Oh, so
Psychic damage.
This Build Metaverse is explicitly a 10th anniversary of the Build franchise.
Damn, I'm dying.
Remember, Build Fighters predates the My Hero Academia anime.
Oh right, that was the beginning of the end. Is because Bones poached that dude for the My Hero Academia anime.
Yeah,
I mean it paid off for Bones.
It did.
So anyway, the only thing probably worth mentioning about this is that it is in fact being directed by Masami Obari. So
sure.
It will probably look
have
decent,
that shot a lot.
Oh yeah,
you might get a cool fight or something out of it.
We will.
Right?
If we switch, we must switch the dial in our brains fully to the wow cool robot end.
Yep.
I mean, to be able to derive any enjoyment out of this.
For those of you who don't know, Masami Obari, famous for his work in Pop Team Epic.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yes,
and
primarily that.
Fatal Fury.
Yes, the Fatal Fury movies. God. So I don't know what else there is to say.
It's also going to be the crossover between all the other build shows, which is just way to just great stomp all over my happy memories. Will you?
That's just what you do when you have an anniversary with these shows, right?
There is one thing which could redeem this show. What if G Savior shows up?
It's already showed up.
Did.
No, but what if it does it again?
For real? What if one of the main characters?
What if the unnamed Zeta mobile suit that I don't want to reveal the name of yet because we haven't gotten to that episode finally gets its chance to shine in a Gundam Build series?
Nah, that's less plausible than G Savior showing up.
I mean, yes, because one of these has shown up and one hasn't.
Let's move on before we just start naming Gundam suits.
Yes.
We'll wrap things up by talking about Pluto.
Oh hey, it's finally surfaced, right?
This finally happening.
Yeah, this is like the season's like one genuine huge.
This is the one
project.
How long has this been in the works?
At least 3 or 4 years.
Let's see here.
Maybe longer. I mean,
well, if somebody wants to give the premise,
I'll do it. Yeah, it's basically a retell. So it's based on a manga. But the manga is also based on a manga. Basically, the idea of Pluto is that it's a retelling of a certain arc of Astro Boy. Astro Boy, famously the first real anime, one of the first mangas, Osamu Tezuka's masterpiece, all that stuff.
This was announced in 2017.
Yeah,
okay, so about
6 years.
Yeah,
but yes, so the manga is basically the manga of Pluto is basically it tells the story of that arc, the arc being the greatest robot in the world, but reimagines it as kind of a much more realistic, serious, in-depth story that's kind of a cross between a detective story and more kind of like a. There's some of the original shonen-y stuff in there as well. The manga was written by Naoki Urasawa, and he wrote and illustrated it. It's incredible. It's a really, really spectacular piece of work.
Just for reference, Naoki Urasawa also worked on 20th Century Boys and Monster.
Yes.
So this is a guy who is
big names. Yeah.
Quite
yeah, I mean, like
a resume.
some of the biggest names in the history of manga.
Right.
And,
on this thing.
yeah, Pluto is. I mean, okay, so the source material of Pluto is like, yeah, as Zig said, it is a hell of a work. It is a. I mean, so as somebody who finally got around to reading, I mean, well, I've read Pluto for years, but I finally read the original Osamu Tezuka story.
I recently read both. Yeah, for the first time.
It is wild how, like, actually weirdly on point Urasawa's like reinterpretation of the Pluto arc.
There's some extremely specific weird details.
Yes.
They're really funny.
I think that the thing about it is that it's not so much like the common thing about Pluto is that they say, oh, he expanded this arc, and that's only like partially true. I think
right. All of that, a lot of the thematic heft of it was in Astro Boy.
Yes, he kind of widens it, if that makes sense. You know, he puts a lot of the subtext into text and just pairs it with just gorgeous art.
Yeah. So just to give like a quick like plot synopsis, just so you know, because we've been talking a lot about like what this anime is and what it represents, but Pluto is, as Zig said, a noir story about basically a robot detective named Geschicht, who is investigating a series of murders. Basically, two series of murders are happening at the same time. The strongest robots in the world are being systematically killed one by an unknown force. And at the same time, humans are being killed in ways that seem to imply that unmistakably they were committed by a robot. And this is in a world in which, I mean, stop me if you've heard this before, robots are supposed to be programmed to be incapable of committing violence against humans.
Yep.
No loopholes in that.
Sort of.
It's always human robots have never killed humans in the history of
never.
And so, while the original manga was sort of almost an action arc of robots are fighting over and over, like all the strongest robots on Earth are fighting one by one. This is more of the world's strongest robots are dying one by one, and somebody's investigating what's going on, right?
And like the core conflict of the original is still there. You know, Astro Boy himself turns up, although he's referred to by his original name, Atom. In the it's also like an extremely weird, uncanny valley to see him done in Urasawa's extremely realistic art style.
Right.
He's just a kid.
Yeah, but kind of like that stuff is kind of, I won't necessarily say it's background because it's still core to what's happening, but Geschicht is the focus character. Astro is more kind of the catalyst who keeps stuff moving along. So it's again the same story but told with a different perspective and greater context.
And of course, like a big aspect of that is like because of the breadth that Urasawa is afforded with Pluto.
Mm-hmm.
There's just, you know, it is the classic Urasawa thing of he just plumbs the depths of humanity of these characters, right? Like these characters who like had this subtext in the original, or you know, some of this subtext in the original Tezuka work, but are expanded and grown and given time to flourish.
Tezuka will just have a page where a character tells you their thing, and then he will move on to the next thing that is happening, where they will explain what's going on. And like that stuff is still in there, but it's presented fairly simplistically. Right. Whereas, you know, Urasawa can spend a whole like volume taking like the two things this character said and then just expanding that out to like show the depths of their, you know, their
in a way that feels right. Like it doesn't feel like he just like invented it out of nowhere. It's like he took a very hard look at these characters and their very sparing appearances in the original manga, and it's.
I mean, Tezuka's work in general is praised for its unusual thematic richness, despite the fact it is a 50s sequential cartoon strip.
Mm-hmm.
So. And to bring this all back to the anime, I guess. I mean, again, it's. You know, this is one I would have said once upon a time was one of the unadaptable, and
certainly the bar was extremely high,
and it still is high. I mean, the trailers look good. I do like what I see, but it is still. I'm really looking forward to this, but I'm still like not sure I can like fully throw my heart into it. Like the manga is such a special piece of work to me. Like Pluto is probably like a lock for like my like top 10, potentially top 5 manga of all time. I really love Pluto, and can an anime do it justice? Is
Yeah,
like,
it sounds like even if it does a good job, it sounds like it's still going to be a inferior interpretation. Is that's kind of the vibe?
Right? They're
getting
adapting
on,
something
right.
which is nearly universally acknowledged as a masterpiece, right? So it's very and I don't think that the troubled history of this production helps either. As G
Right.
mentioned earlier, it has been in and out of development hell. I mean, like the idea of a Pluto anime was mooted almost from the moment the manga came into being, but like even this actual production has been stuck in development hell for quite some time.
Yeah.
We don't know why in particular, but I have to imagine that the resources required were a sticking point.
Also, I mean, COVID happened.
Yeah, I mean,
right.
obviously, yes, there are external factors.
My understanding,
Yeah.
if this is released on Netflix, my understanding is that it's going to be 8 hour-long episodes.
Sure.
That is a good amount of screen time.
It's like one episode per volume of the manga, is my understanding.
Again, it does look good. Like, I mean, again, it's like despite the troubles with its development, so to speak, there is a lot. It is a good looking. At least the trailers make it seem like a very good looking anime. It's just
Right,
the bar is so high for something like this.
The thing is, like, as I alluded to earlier, like there's quite a lot of action in Pluto, but it is not really an action story. I think for me, the adaptation's most important choices will be how it chooses to frame and animate some of like the more quiet, intense, personal
most
moments,
certainly,
as opposed to like the big action set pieces, which again do exist because it's based on a Tezuka story. But it will be interesting to see how they handle the nuances of that.
At the very least, you might just get the story out to more people. I mean, I've never read it or anything. I mean, I've heard of it because it's one of the most, famous. A lot of people have it at their top of their best manga ever list type of thing. But, I'm interested in this being a medium. As someone who doesn't read manga, this is at least something that, even if I get, the gist of what the story is, maybe that will make me go read the manga. I don't know.
Right.
But,
I mean, for me, I have kind of an interest in this on another level, which is, although, I literally just described the manga as a masterpiece, and I do not take that back in any sense whatsoever. I've also always personally found Pluto kind of beautiful but cold to a certain extent. Especially compared to the original Tezuka story, and so I'm interested to see, whether the addition of movement and voice and music and that kind of thing can sort of soften my stance on it. And again, to be clear, this is strictly a personal thing. The manga is a masterpiece; it's an incredible piece of work, but I'm interested to see whether it will shift my personal perception of the story in any way.
Yeah. Okay, well, something to look forward to, I guess.
Yeah.
And let's hope it's not trapped in Netflix hell, and people actually watch it.
It seems like it's launching worldwide, but I mean, Netflix hell is Netflix hell.
I mean, are they just dumping it all in one shot?
Are they releasing it all?
Netflix.
Oh my god,
it's Netflix. Why wouldn't they?
No, I can't. It's just. I mean, whatever. Like, I think most of us probably binge read Pluto to some degree, but like,
that's different.
I would love to see the world that has to sit with Pluto for 8 weeks, like the world of anime that has to like work through those episodes at that pace. But it is what it is.
All right. Well, that's mostly going to do it. A few things we'll mention briefly as we close out here. We were unfortunately not able to get Aqua on this podcast. He wanted to be on, but he was going to mention I'm in love with the Villainess, which he has some beef with, as he said. He did not tell us what it was, although I can probably make a few guesses as far as the content of the series, but
Right.
Well, that's our teaser for the inevitable first look post. So stay tuned for that, as Aqua will tell us what his beef is with that show.
There's also, speaking of Netflix, that the new Castlevania show is coming out also, which...
Boo.
Yeah, I didn't care for much of the first series, but this one is based on Rondo of Blood, so... And Warren Ellis is no longer on the project, so I will probably give it a cursory look.
Okay.
The thing is that the perfect Rondo of Blood anime already exists, and it's the intro of the PC Engine CD.
Hell yeah.
True.
Go back to 92 and invent Rondo of Blood.
Hell yeah.
They recreate that scene in animated form. Yeah, so there's that. We were just talking about Synduality Noir was announced to continue into this next season, but
what
are you guys going to do the sensible thing?
What?
I don't know what you're talking about. I've heard nothing of this second season of Synduality.
The last episode's gonna happen.
It's ending in one episode.
You're gonna try to go for plausible deniability on that
Synduality was always 12 episodes.
Yeah.
Just like what's it? Terrible nationalist robot anime.
Like Kyokai Senki?
Senki,
No, we watched that one to completion.
That was wasn't that like 40? Wasn't that 48
we cannot talk about Kyokai Senki.
Anyway, yeah. So we'll a lot of these shows are going to start very quickly here before the next episode here. So we'll have some sort of mix of, I guess, season wrap up and first looks next time. I still have some things to say about Masterful Cat, but there's one episode left. We'll get to that next time. The only thing else I'll say is I think they realized they were getting a little boring and injected a lot more lesbian activity, but we'll talk about it next time.
Wait for the shock ending where Masterful Cat dies of lung cancer from smoking unfiltered cigars.
Yeah, his catnip sticks that he smokes. Yeah. Which is not a joke. That actually is the thing. All right. So that'll do it for this episode, though. And we'll do our housekeeping. You can check us out at theglorioblog.com, where we will be having first look posts in the not too distant future. Anime apocalypse is upon us once again, so keep an eye out for that. You can still follow us on Twitter at the Glorio blog or on co-host at Glorio. Every now and then I remember to post things there. So you can check those out. You can follow the podcasts or subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Amazon Music, Podbean, Stitcher, and of course on YouTube, where you can like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell. Tell us any shows that we didn't mention that maybe there's some sleeper hit where we didn't catch here. And as there always is every season. So let us know about that. You can tell your friends, tell your enemies, and we'll catch you over next time.